I've been coming to conferences for about FM for somewhere between 40 and 50 years, and people who know me will know that I'll always be getting up saying, but it's all about the people, guys. It's about the people who do the work, it's about the people who work for us, it's about the people impacted by the work that we do. Has anybody read The Human-Centric Workplace? Yeah, some good hands, good. The rest of you, Simone's really pleased. It's a superb book, it really is, and I highly recommend it. It taught me two things. It taught me that there really are Oldham Athletic supporters left in the land. And it taught me that we've got a great generation of young people who have taken up that "it's all about the people" banner and won't let you forget that. Please welcome workplace consultant and author of The Human-Centric Workplace, Simone Fenton-Jarvis.
Well, I feel like I've just come out of the dock and now I'm about to plead my case for why it's all about people. So just before we start, if you're warm right now, can you stand up? If you're warm in temperature. Okay, so I'm glad that it's not me that's about to pass out and it's not just nerves. The second thing is, if you're already thinking about your lunch, stand up. If you're thinking, Simona's got that slot before the lunch and I'm feeling really sleepy and she's been right stitched up, stand up. Okay, everyone, give it just a wiggle. I'm going to wake you up a little bit. Give it a wiggle. If you need a wee, don't wiggle. Okay, sit down. So I'm going to talk about why it's all about people. Hopefully by the end of this, you'll all buy my book because it's shocking. No, I'm joking. I'm not here to sell my book. Okay, so it's all about people, and I'm going to talk about why it's all about people, just in case it's not obvious. Our buildings would be not much use without the people in them, as we've probably found out recently. So, the workplace. We're a diverse bunch. We have 1 in 4 people in our workplace that have got a mental illness, 1 in 7 that are neurodivergent, 1 in 5 with a disability, 1 in 10 identifies LGBTQ+, 1 in 2 are parents, 16 personality types, and of course 5 generations. I really enjoy when people say that I'm the young one, but I'm 34 now, so maybe I'm not so young, Martin. So we're a diverse bunch. If you then throw in there race, religion, socio-economic status, education, and then you pop us all in the same building. Now, yes, we will go into these buildings to critically think, to have a community, to have a routine, to get through our to-do list, if you're lucky, to be recognised, to collaborate, to be creative, to communicate, to concentrate, to contemplate, and a bit of talk of Netflix and Happy Valley thrown in between. Now, why would we go to the same place for all of them things? You don't. So no wonder we're getting it wrong. 21% of people at work are actively disengaged. That's from Gallup. 14% are actively engaged. We know that we need to understand what's happening, but unfortunately most of the data out there has failed to look at the why. So, in came the beer, the rewards, the office dogs, the yoga, fun in the office, food, coffee. Now, the thing is, the bit that we've missed here is the why. I'm not going to complain about any of these things that we've added into the workplace. I just want us to focus on why we're putting them there, because clearly it's not working. And because we love a definition in the industry, the media thought they'd throw us another one during the pandemic and throw hybrid working out there. It was the media that came up with it. No consultant can claim that one. So there's lots of confusion at the moment in organisations. there's lots of confusion if you follow it on LinkedIn. What is hybrid working? For me, it's a little bit obvious, but I'm not going to get into that now. It's probably a whole different talk. But essentially, we're trying to use traditional working methods in a digital age, an information age. So what's happening with hybrid working at the moment? So I've got a new tool, can you tell? This is it's called Sketch Wow, it's cracking. Okay, so hybrid working. On the right-hand side here, you've got the organisation. They're saying basically how, when, where people in the organisation are needing to work. They're setting the rules. You've got the senior management that are then delivering that kind of remit. You've got what leaders are asking from the team and what they're letting go of and what they're measuring. That's sometimes a little bit different from what the organisation are saying to do. You've then got the people on the ground. How, when, where they want to work. Now, that desire on the left-hand side here is very different to the organisation's intentions based off what they think they've heard. You've then got the difference between what senior management are also saying at the bottom here, what is actually happening, what they're trying to enforce. So here is lots of gaps between what the people want, what the organisation is saying, what the organisation is saying and what mid-management are delivering, and what mid-management say they're delivering, and then what people are actually doing. So these gaps are leading to frustration between people on the ground in the organisation, mistrust between senior leadership and mid-management, and confusion between people on the ground and the managers. Because they're confused that the organisation is saying one thing, and then people are letting other things go. So what we need here is for organisations to make hybrid work. It is the only option right now. So yes, we need to capture the data, we need to train our people, at all levels that is, and I mean all levels, not just because you've been in an organisation for 30 odd years, you're not going to get away with it. Have guiding principles to assist people, and commit to the changes that are actually necessary. We don't need one place to do everything. We need a Swiss Army knife approach, just in case you was wondering what my drawing was. But we also don't need any more definitions. We need to focus on flexible working practices, an agile mindset, activity-based working, and smart technology to enable us and to underpin everything that we do. There is space in the employee experience for the office, so you can all take a big, deep breath at this point. It's there to drive the connectedness, collaboration, belonging. This is what people are telling us right now. So yes, as much as there's some confusion around what hybrid means, how about we just focus on how to actually deliver what people need and what the organisation needs to basically thrive. So, lots of different places where we can work today. And there are pros and cons of every space that we use. So yes, you've got the home up at the top. Yes, you can choose what coffee you're drinking. You can choose what food you're eating, and it's cheaper than paying prep. Yes, you've got connectivity, you don't have to worry about where the plug sockets are. But home is home. And if you spend too long there, you do eventually start climbing the walls. I think the pandemic taught us that one. And then you've got the coffee shops. The buzz. The coffee grinding, steaming, frothing milk, noise of everybody talking, the noise. But for the sake of the argument, let's just call it the buzz. Where you go and the Wi-Fi is a little bit crap. The furniture is also a little bit crap. You're staring at the plug socket hogger as your screen gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, wondering when they're going to finish that coffee and leave because you need to plug in. But hey, gets you out of the house and you get a great cup of coffee. So hey, there's some wins at the end of it. And then co-working spaces. Better than the average coffee shop and less shit than the average office. Is that the truth? Does anyone disagree at this point? Okay, lightning speed Wi-Fi, apparently. Comfier seats, you've got 2 screens, you can meet people in your neighbourhood. If you really want and this is only a choice, you can decide to meet colleagues there, but it's not likely to happen by chance. You're going to have to plan it. And then you've got the office, the jack of all trades, the thing that has been there to do everything previously. So when we've finished eating the birthday cake, unless Rishi Sunak and co gets the way and then there'll be no cake in the office, and then definitely nobody will ever go there again. When we've finished talking to colleagues about Happy Valley maybe, I'm missing Happy Valley, can you tell? And when we'd finished all of these odd Teams calls, literally every single hour back to back, we might learn from anybody else that's in the building, if you're lucky. You might communicate with them, if you're lucky. That's not via Teams, even if they sat 3 seats away from you. You might get to hear what they're doing in their day, if you're lucky, from their actual mouth, directly face to face, rather than them sitting on a Teams call with a headset on, and you're just listening in anyway. So, pros and cons of each space. But this comes down to choice. We would all choose to go to these places for different reasons, and that is personal. The future of work is human. It's all about people. Now, as a profession, of course we want people to go back to the office. Of course we do. But, yes, it's our pride and joy. But you do realise, parents and facilities managers and anybody that or managers in office, nobody ever thinks that your baby is as good as you think it is. Nobody loves your baby as much as you do. And I'll count my dog in this if we have to. But I'm sure you all love her. So for people to make a choice, we need to give people a reason to be there, to go back to that office. People, culture, belonging, learning, mentoring. Yes, flexible policies, agile mindsets, activity-based working spaces, and smart technology. So before we just discuss what human-centric workplaces are, because you all need to go and buy the book later, before we discuss that, I'm just going to go into, let's define what it means to be a human being. Now, I've not been on the gin this morning, don't worry. This has been something that's been debated by people for thousands of years. Poets, philosophers, anthropologists, scientists, artists, everybody. We all at some point say or think, I wonder what it is about being a human being. What makes us human? But despite all the efforts, the approach is very non-conclusive at the moment, because every time we come up with an answer, it's separating the brain, the gut feeling, the heart, the emotion of it. So there's many angles that make up the human being. So there's no better time to bring up 3 white blokes at an FM conference. However, sorry, wrong crowd. But thanks to patriarchy, we don't have any female philosophers that I can bring up on the screen that have been having a presence at the moment. So Aristotle, Marx, and Clifford Geertz. So between them, despite them being hundreds of years apart, they all agree that to be human means having a culture, being part of a society, having a belonging, having a purpose. Does it sound like what the reasons why we go to an office? The reasons why we get together with our tribe? Yeah? So, 300,000-year evolution. Yes, we got to the point of juggling way too much. And yes, thanks to everything that's come in the office, we are now pretending that we're robots. We shouldn't and don't turn off what's going on in our work lives when we get to the office. But that's what continually happens every single day. So if you're going to get with your tribe, it's not just about staying alive, avoid being eaten, because we just work 2 hours a day and go and get some food, and then we just go home and do the art and spirituality and everything that the cave kind of people used to do. Sounds great personally, but hey-ho, it's going to be a while before I retire. So we need to get to grips with what it means to be human, and we need to tie that back into the office. So let's look at where we've come from and where we're going. Utility, back in the workhouse kind of days, cog in the machine, okay? Very robotic, it was all 9 to 5. It was about hoarding information, passing pieces of paper around the office to get to the next function. As that evolved over the years, it became email heavy. It was a bit arse covering at times. People didn't have a voice, and essentially they went to work because it was a job. We then started focusing on productivity. How can we squeeze a little bit more out of that lemon? How do we make sure that people are more effective for the business, to get more out of them people? So we were looking at efficiencies, improvements, challenges, there was challenges around measuring. And there was lots of automation of repeatable processes at this point because we were focusing on productivity. We then got into engagement. How can we make people happier that then, when they're at work, they're having also a nice time? Sounds good. So we started looking at annual surveys. We started to focus on culture. We started to focus more on what some people would say, the fluffy bits. And then we went into experience. And that's where the coffee, the yoga, and everything else came. And it was, how can we make the office a destination that people want to go to? And now, my argument is, we're human. How do we make sure that everything that we do in our lives, in our workplaces, is not affecting the planet in a negative way, that we're supporting people in our community, that we're having a positive impact on the planet, that we feel this sense of belonging, purpose, we've got a community. Because the loneliness stats are at an all-time high. We are disconnected despite being more connected than ever. So we need the data to drive what is coming next. And this data needs to go back to, as one of my earlier slides is, the desires, the intentions, and the actual behaviours. We can't just focus on surveys, because that's people's desires. We can't just focus on space booking systems or what people think might happen. That's people's intentions. We definitely can't just focus on actual behaviours, that is sensors and observations and access control and Wi-Fi readings, because that's what's actually happening. If you do, and you're planning your spaces based off what's actually happening, it's not going to be very agile. We need to take the desires and the intentions of people in mind as well. If you also only focus on the actual behaviours, you're going to have a lot of angry workforce, that you have taken this away from me, you have not given me this. But you can't say, well, you're not using it, because as much as we've all bit our tongue and wanted to say that at times, it doesn't go down too well, does it? Cool. And then on to smart homes. So 311 billion was spent in the US last year alone on making our homes smart. And yet we go to the office. Would you say the average office is a smart place to be? So despite us hyper-personalising our spaces, with all these things on the left, which have got really good high adoption, because they're easy to use, we're there on that journey. All the things on the right are a bit cost prohibitive. I mean, would I pay 700 quid for a robot to mow my grass? Probably just pay a gardener, to be honest, but hey-ho. So yes, they've got functions, but is the crucial need there? Is it a vitamin or is it a painkiller? Now, this slide is purposely busy because I'm just highlighting everything that's available in the workplace today from a smart workplace environment. Now, a company called TrustTech did a piece of analysis recently, and they said if you gave every tech company out there an hour of your time, it would take 21 years to listen to all the pitches. That's how many companies are out there at the moment doing smart workplace technology. And yet, this is still the average office. You see where the gaps keep happening here? And yet, we keep talking about this. We need to start focusing on the easy, the plug and the play, what people actually need to do their roles. It's got to be a value add, not a gimmick. It only works for so long and then we get bored of it. One of my ex-CEOs maybe put a massage chair in the office once. It got used loads for the first 2 weeks and then nobody went on it unless they'd played football the day before. The experience in the office has to beat the tech that we have in our homes, because otherwise, either people will take the path of least resistance, they'll start doing things that they're not meant to do, or they become frustrated. There's nothing worse if you've travelled on a train than when you think you've got Wi-Fi and it doesn't work. Our technologies, our offices, the needs continue to evolve, but we do need to focus on the why. What is the why of the workplace? Why do we want people there? Why do they want to go there? Why do the business need them there? That's what's going to keep us focused. That's what's going to keep us hooked in to what's happening. Now, I'm just going to end on the planet, and I've touched on it a little bit already. But the human-centric workplace has a massive, massive potential here to impact the planet. And I'm not just saying that because I wrote the book. Now, there's 8 billion people on the planet, and there's $80 trillion in circulation. Okay? 8 men have the same wealth as the poorest half of the world. 8 men. Okay? A FTSE 100 CEO earns the same as 10,000 people working in a garment factory in Bangladesh. One CEO, 10,000 workers. In the last 30 years, the incomes of the top 1% has grown by 300%, whereas the bottom, 50%, has grown by 0. So yes, that divide is getting even wider. Now, the biggest 10 world corporations have the same budget as 180 countries combined. Developing countries are losing 100 billion every single year to tax dodging. And if I give you some context of this, Kenya loses 1.1 billion every year in tax dodging, i.e. people not paying the right tax on things like coffee beans. And that 1.1 billion is twice their healthcare budget, and women have a 1 in 40 chance of dying in childbirth. So don't think that your organisations are not impacting the world a lot wider than you think. We need to wake up. We need to hold our companies to account and those that you work with as well. And I'm just going to leave you with this. If we listen and we show compassion and empathy, that we respect our differences and we maintain them highest levels of integrity, we might just change the world with one small human act at a time. It needs to be underpinned by technology. I'm not saying it doesn't. But we need to make sure that the future of work is human. Thank you.